dead by daylight.
There are things of the abyss better left unexplored and undiscovered. Arcane knowledge and forgotten truths that have pushed the most resilient of minds into a fathomless pit of madness. Of the entity, I know little. What I have concluded is this living dimension seems to slither through the cosmos like a primordial titan serpent, consuming people and worlds for reasons I dare not try to understand, let alone explain. That's what he calls Professor Blanchard. The imbecile is choosing 2 students to lead a research assignment in an abandoned farmhouse. Carter knows he's going to be selected. He's the best in the neuroscience program. The best at the Leary. The Leary. It could only be the Leary. The Leary or the Allen. 2 institutions with a history of working with the government to push the limits of psychology beyond the code. Not beyond the code, despite the code. The papers coming out of the Allen amazed him, captured him, inspired him. Had he been Canadian, it would have been the Allen, or what many called Ravenscrag. The experiments they conducted were brilliant, cutting edge, mind-shattering. He wishes he were a student in the 50s studying under Lord Crag, the nickname patients gave the genius at Ravenscrag. Lord Crag returned from the trials with ideas, not cautionary tales, not disgust like the other bleeding hearts who condemned the doctors who would anyway be smuggled into his country and be given the highest positions in government in exchange for their discoveries. Lord Crag took the experiments he had heard about to the next level, and Carter hopes to do the same. But not with this professor, not with Blanchard, Dr. Bleeding Heart Blanchard. He has no idea what real power is. Real power is freedom. True freedom. Freedom beyond the limits of ethics and morality. Carter's leading the research assignment with another peer. The challenge? Secure the secret word through the good doctor, bad doctor interrogation technique put forward by some other bleeding heart imbecile at some other institution. He's bad doctor with a code, a list of do's and don'ts the imbecile gave him. Very limiting, too limiting, self-limiting even. How is he supposed to secure anything with these limits? Surely he realizes how futile the experiment is with this code. Nevertheless, he tries. He shouts at a fellow student sitting across the table from him. Shouts, big deal. Tell me or I'll shout again. The student doesn't take him seriously. He's play-acting fear. It's all make-believe for him. I should smash his skull and yank the secret word out of his substandard mediocre brain. Second day and nothing. Carter's frustrated, really frustrated. At least they're tied up, all 7 of them. But it's still not enough. They need to take the interrogation to the next level, deprive them of food and water. They'll talk. When their cells begin to self-cannibalize, they'll talk. Better yet, he wants to deprive them of sleep. Sleep deprivation. Removes masks, lowers guards, makes prisoners talk for the promise of a few minutes of sleep. The 7 prisoners stare at him. They know they're safe. He can see it in their eyes. Limits. No one got anywhere respecting limits. He despises his colleague, Good Doctor. He'd have the secret by now had he been working alone and without a code. Ridiculous limits. Skinner knew better. Put his own kid in some kind of a box for years just to see what it would do. Huxley worked for the Secret Service and wrote Truths as Lies in Brave New World. War of the Worlds was another great test in mass propaganda. The power of the radio to induce fear and anxiety in an unsuspecting audience. The power of fear and anxiety to inspire silence and indifference and create perfect consumers. Ethics, morality, limits. For sheep, not shepherds. Carter feels anxiety unlike he ever felt as he watches Good Doctor interrogate one of his classmates. He approaches him from behind with a piece of wood, something he found on the ground, raises the makeshift club. Before he realizes what he's doing, he pounds the Good Doctor's head. Pretend fear becomes real fear as his fellow students stare at him in horror. No more Good Doctor. No more rules. No more limits. Except the limits of his imagination. Carter ties a student to a chair. Warm blood drips everywhere. He twists pieces of flesh off his face. The sheep look away, but never up. With terrible moans and squirms, he gets a secret word from each and every one of them. New, Reich, Horizons, Fourth, Bird, Kill. His classmates beg to be released. They sob and agonize in their chairs. They plead the experiment is over. You have the words. You win. We're done. Carter smiles. He's still got a few days. A few more days and a few more experiments to run. Could put his career at risk. But he's got the Good Doctor to take the fall. I'll take what I learned from Lord Crag and lobotomize these imbeciles and manipulate... No. Not manipulate. Manufacture. Yes, manufacture reality. Music blares. Eyes are kept forced open with toothpicks. Carter piggybacks a looping song with an inaudible subliminal frequency to evoke fear, anxiety, and discontent. He experimented with the loop on his parents, always caused a fight between them. He doesn't remember where he got the loop. He first read about the subliminal frequency from advertisers. Advertisers deny subliminal loops work. Of course they do. Advertisers deny they use subliminal loops. But they do. They use them, and they work. They must. They must because peace and contentment is our natural disposition. War and discontent needs to be instilled, enforced, manufactured, repeated over and over again until it's the main script in the collective consciousness. Paperclip, Bluebird, MK Ultra, MK Delta, MK Search. They were all necessary. Lord Crag had the right idea, good instincts. So did the Black Sorcerer and the Dirty Trickster. They inspired all the goodies he brought with him in his bag. Music, drinks, drugs, lots of drugs. For a moment, just a moment, he hesitates. He'll probably go to jail for a long time if he uses his goodies. But being free, being truly free for a few days, is worth a lifetime of imprisonment. But I won't get caught. Good Doctor will. Carter wonders if he can remother these sheep. Remother, he loves the term. He wishes it was his own, but it's not. Shock them with electricity and expose them to endless images of death, chaos, and destruction. Traumatize the brain, empty it, lobotomize these subjects to remother them with new personalities. He wonders if he could remother these sheep into wolves. Get them to kill each other. Better yet, turn these good, law-abiding students into serial bombers. He rips the plug out of a lamp, splits the wires, peels the wire, places the exposed wire into a student's mouth, slowly approaches the socket, taking in his terror, plugs it in. screams as he remothers this exemplary student. A putrid smell of burning hair and skin reaches his olfactory receptors. There's another stench. Imbecile soiled himself. Carter laughs. He hasn't been this stimulated in ages. To be free. To be truly free. Carter hasn't had this much fun since he first tried to transplant a mouse brain into a rabbit. A week isn't enough. He wishes he had more time. He needs more time. There are new avenues within the mind to explore. Too many avenues, not enough time. He wishes he had the tools to operate on their brains. There are knives in the kitchen. Good work. Not surgical precision, but good enough. He's read about a gland in the brain that looks like an eye, a gland that supposedly secretes DMT, a kind of mystical drug. He wonders if he can extract it from a living subject. He wonders what a good dosage of human DMT does to a test subject. Carter unties a rope. He's going to release Good Doctor. He's pumped him with drugs and programmed him with new thoughts. He believes the other students are Russian spies that need to be executed for national security. He unwraps the rope and places a screwdriver in his hands. He changes his mind, removes the screwdriver, replaces it with a fork, changes his mind again, replaces the fork with a spoon. He's never seen a spoon used to kill a human being. He backs away from Good Doctor, who is lost and confused, remothered. He says a phrase. The moon is down. Confusion becomes clarity as Good Doctor stands and approaches the Russian spies with a spoon. Brilliant. Bleeding Heart Blanchard returns to the farmhouse with a group of men Carter's never seen before. They look like government men. He suppresses a smile and tells them Good Doctor got out of hand, took things a degree too far. He barely got out alive. Blanchard tells him to shut up. His tone is different. He doesn't sound like an imbecile. We taped the whole thing. Carter exchanges a look with the men in black suits. He doesn't understand. The imbecile enters and does the unexpected. He stares at the barely breathing student unperturbed. No fear, no panic, no emotion, nothing. He grins and mumbles something to himself in German. He turns to Carter with a smile. His smile turns to a grin when the men in black suits handcuff and arrest him. Blanchard whispers, "Looks like you had your chance to make merry hell and took it. The cuffs are just for appearances." I don't understand." "Yes, you do. You understand much more than the others. Welcome to MK Awakening."
What's up, YouTube? I'm back to the studio. So before I get into this Doctor movie pitch, I had to go back to the Blight movie real quick and sit back and tell you guys I was wrong on something. And that is the Blight did test on other killers. Not the licensed killers, but others. The only members of the killer group that does not have a Blight costume is the Oni, the Trickster, the Blight himself, because, I mean, he's a fucking Blight, and the Outlaw or the Gunslinger, whatever you want to call them. Those four are the only ones that do not have Blight skins, and of course, you know, the licensed killers. The other OG killers, they all do have Blight skins, so I'm probably going to do them first before I get to the Oni and any other killers, because I was going to do the Oni after the Plague, but due to the Blight skins, I might want to do these guys first before I even get to guys that don't have, you know, Blight skins. I don't know. I'm just doing it off a whim at the moment. I might not even include that. I might include that in like my Avengers type movie where it's like, you know, we start talking about the survivors and the first movie be about a certain amount of survivors and if they even survive or not. But now let's go on and get into this whole Doctor video, because this is a character that I kind of didn't not want to talk about, but yeah, you know, it is what it is. Y'all was gonna ask for it anyway, so here it is. Now that we got that out the way, now we're gonna talk about Herman Carter, Mr. Chuckles here, the Doctor, and his movie would just be your normal slasher type flick, torture flick. So if you ever thought of the movie like Hostel, Saw, I can't really think of no other horror movies that were more torture type of movies. Human Centipede, those type of movies. This is pretty much what his movie would kind of be. Now, I said this in my other Dead by Daylight videos, and I'm going to say it in this one, and that is that most killers weren't really killers before the entity got a hold of them, except for my dude Herman Carter. This dude was just straight up psychopath, as you can see throughout, the video that I showed you at the beginning, with his tomes, his background, his little cutscene, and just the way he looks. He did that to himself. Nobody did that to him. He did that to himself. So the eye clamps, the mouth clamps, all that jazz, that's all him. And he does that to his victims. And as you can see, and as you can read from the tomes, as you heard, he loves torture. Now, how this would play out is we're gonna start off the movie with just him torturing that man, as you saw at the beginning of the video, and we're gonna give him some little background, some little history, like his upbringing, what led him to be the psychopath monster that he is. The majority of the movie is gonna take place in that facility that he works at, because he's you got the good doctor, got the bad doctor, which he's the bad doctor, and you got good cop, bad cop, which is they're doing on there. So the government came and got Herman and wanted him to, to not run tests, but pretty much interrogate these criminals. Like I said, good doctor, bad doctor, good cop, bad cop. The good cop or the good doctor is going to be all like, hey, we're going to find different ways to torture these. I want to say torture these guys, but get the answers that we need out. While Herman on the other side is all like, fuck it, I'm just going to torture these guys. Like, even if they don't give me the answer, I'm still going to torture them. I mean, he made it seem like he was doing a good job, but really doing a good deed, but really all actually to do was just all types of fucked up. To where you see at the end, he kills the good doctor and he starts just killing everybody. And what's led to the entity snatching his ass up and bringing him over to the realm of his little play world, is what I'm going to start calling the entity's realm, the play world, or the void, because no, I think the void is where the survivors go once he's done using them, because we're going to get to the survivors in the next video finally. But the Doctor's movie is pretty much going to be all pretty much torture, body horror and all that type of stuff, like him clamping people's faces, like how he does with his face, as you've seen him using the electricity, because you've seen that electricity also plays a big factor in his skill set in the game as well. So we're not really going to get into him being a killer in the entity's realm until later on, until like the survivors little storyline, when I start making up a video for the survivors. But mainly it's going to be like an origin story, just like the rest of the killers that I have. All their movies are origin stories, like origin based movies. So how they became who they are and what they are and why they became and why the entity chose them. Entity chose the doctor because the doctor doesn't really need much convincing to go do some torturing and do some killing. Like, the plague, the spirit, most of them, they need convincing. Like the plague, for instance, entity is playing as a god. So he whispers in her ear as if you play as the plague and you ranked her up to enough to where you can get that perk where you hear the entity whispering in her ear. She's so religious that she believes in the God, and he's taking place as that God. So he's disguising himself as the God she believes in so he can get what he wants out of her. But when it comes to your boy Herman here, he don't need much convincing. It seems all like, hey, you like killing people, right? You want to torture people, right? Here, look, I'm giving you all this to do that. Now, when it comes down to the Blight gets a hold of him just like he gets a hold of all the original killers, and he gets the testing on them. And that's going to be something for another day. We're not really going to talk about that. That's probably going to be like a small video. But all in all, Herman Carter's video or movie is going to be based on him trying to, torture all these students and torture all these criminals and torture, kill. That's all he pretty much is. It's pretty much going to be a slasher dash, like torture type film. And it's kind of sick. Them type of movies I ain't really into because it's like, it's not really scary. It's just more of don't eat before you watch this movie because you're going to pretty much throw up. And that's pretty much what this movie would be all about. It'd be pretty much just sick and twisted, demented, and also he'll be like, it's like meeting Hannibal Lecter meets the doctor from the Human Centipede, this first and second one, because the third one wasn't really that great anyways. I mean, the movies aren't great at all, but it's just those two movies. The second one for damn sure was all types of fucked up. But all in all, that's how these movies would have went out. Now, next video, we got to start doing survivors because there's a way to get them. I found a way to get them implemented into the movies. And it's pretty much the startup of like, okay, who's teaming up with who, what killers you gonna get to see. So it's pretty much like, you know, an Avengers type movie when they all come together and they're all like, all right, let's get the killing. Because at the end of the Doctor's movie, he'll see him being put in the realm of the entity, and he gets to meet like the Trapper, the Wraith. Because I think the Doctor, Nurse, Wraith, and the Trapper were the first 4 killers that we gotten when the game first originally came out. So even though I guess I haven't done a Wraith nor Nurse video, those are coming right after the Survivors video. So we're going to do that. So that's going to be like our first, you know, I guess team up, get together movie, if you want to call it. But other than that, guys, this video is breaching like damn near 20 minutes. But other than that, guys, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all watching these videos. Y'all got my Blight video up there, so hopefully y'all can get this one up there as well. But all that, guys, I love y'all. Take care. Peace.